So let's move forward. He did not stop there. Today, he did full-page advertisement in 9 major British and United States newspapers to apologize for the data privacy scandal. The heading of the advertisement reads, quote, "We have a responsibility to protect your information. If we can't, we don't deserve it," end of quote. The advertisement ran in the Sunday Times and the Observer, which helped break the story in the UK, as well as the New York Times, Washington Post, and the Wall Street Journal. So in case you're wondering how this concerns you, Cambridge Analytica was allegedly hired by a rich Nigerian who supported former President Goodluck Jonathan. An ex-employee of the company said they were employed by a billionaire who panicked at the idea of a change of government that was before the 2015 election and was ready to spend big to make sure that that did not happen. The change happened anyways, but there are questions about election manipulation and how information is being weaponized to target certain people. I have joining me from our Abuja studio the man who studied affairs of media and publicity during the 2015 election for the Jonathan campaign. I have with me Chief Femi Fani-Kayode. Thank you so much, Mr. Femi Fani-Kayode, for your time on the program. And let me start by asking you, are you aware of any engagement of any foreign organization that helped your campaign organization during the election?
Well, the simple and clear answer to that question is no, with a capital N. And secondly, may I add that at no point or at no time was the PDP mentioned, was the PDP campaign organization mentioned, or was anybody that is a member of the PDP mentioned in these absurd allegations. That's the first thing. The second thing I would add to that is this. The report specifically said that President Jonathan had nothing to do with this issue, and they had no evidence to suggest that Jonathan was involved. That's assuming it ever happened. So I'm as astounded as you are, and my answer to you categorically and clearly is that as far as the presidential campaign organization is concerned, because I was in charge of media and publicity, we have absolutely no links whatsoever with this company or with anybody that seeks to do anything that is illegal or criminal or to undermine any government or any person that wants to run for elective office in this country.
Are you also aware, Mr. Fani-Kayode, that there were allies, friends of former President Jonathan that also helped him in any way and any manner to help and support him in winning the election in 2015?
Well, that question, well, you're asking me if I'm aware of that. It's quite possible. I'm not aware of specific details of that, though I know that President Jonathan enjoyed a lot of goodwill in a number of places. But I think it's very simple and clear. What the report said was that a billionaire, a nameless billionaire, who was Jonathan's friend, and also an Israeli agent, or a couple of Israeli agents, met with them and asked them to do things to find information in an illegal manner. I think what you probably do is establish the names of those individuals, both the Israelis and also this mysterious Nigerian billionaire, and put these questions to them, certainly not to us. This reminds me very much of an interesting chapter in apartheid South African history, where Pete Botha, the former Minister of Foreign Affairs, was asked by the international community whether or not South Africa had nuclear weapons simply because there were some explosions in the sea. And his response was this, that don't ask us what happens in the sea, ask Father Neptune what happens in the sea. And I'm saying, don't ask us what is happening or what happened between Jonathan and his friends or between Israelis and Jonathan. Ask the people that allege that these things happen. And I don't believe it for 1 minute.
If you know, there was some information that are coming to light now, especially for the fact that the ex-employee of Cambridge Analytica did say that they were hacking into the personal data and information of President Muhammadu Buhari, who was a candidate of the APC at the time. Those kind of information includes his financial information and those of his military and academic records, and also his medical records. I could remember some of the things that you said about the records of the president, especially his academic record. You were very vehement at the time about his academic record. How did you get to know?
Well, so, you know, I'm a historian, apart from anything else. I'm also somebody that's blessed with a certain level of intelligence. We asked a lot of questions. Up till today, those questions have not been answered about the educational certificates and so on and so forth of our president. And these were relevant, pertinent issues that were raised during the campaign. They were not answered at the time. They have not been answered up until today. Now, that does not mean to say that we're in the business of hacking into people's personal data or employing others to do so on our behalf to get involved in what is clearly criminal activity. What I would put to you, however, is this. If you're really interested in knowing who has been doing the hacking, who does these dirty games and plays these dirty tricks, perhaps you should ask the APC and ask them what role David Axelrod played, that is the advisor to President Obama, played, and what role his company played in assisting the APC to do precisely what we are now being accused of. That company and Axelrod was paid $10 million by the APC during the campaign. And they did a lot of things, including hacking, including international and local media, including advising them. So if you want to know about hacking, if you want to know about tapping into people's data illegally, if you want to know about foreign interference in our presidential election in 2015, ask David Axelrod, ask President Obama, and ask President Buhari and his campaign organization. Don't ask us.
Let me also ask you, Mr. Fani-Kayode, that one of the things that you did say during the campaign,
Chief, by the way,
in one of your numerous press conferences, was that the candidate of the APC was unwell. How did you get to know this?
Well, was unwell or that may not last the course. They're two certainly different things. But again, you asked me these questions. It's self-evident that all may not be well. And let me tell you this, part of what I've been doing for many years is also intelligence gathering and things like that. And I'm very familiar with the way in which intelligence agencies operate, both within Nigeria and outside. And I would be a fool not to bring that to bear in anything that I'm doing. I have access to a lot of information, both inside and outside Nigeria, and I bring it to bear, and I gather information. It's part of what I do. You'd be shocked about what I know about so many people. 5% of it comes out because the public can't handle most of it. But what I'll tell you is this, there's a lot more to President Buhari than meets the eye, including his health issues, and I think that we have a right to know. We had a right to know during the campaign, we have a right to know today. But again, they have not been forthright with us, and they refuse to come out cleanly and tell us what the situation is. So it's in that context that I'm aware. It's no big secret. It's nothing that, it doesn't require hacking into people's emails and things to find that information out. All it requires is good old-fashioned intelligence work, and some of us happen to be very good at that. Now, you're asking me these questions. I'll put this to you. Far more important than this are questions about this scam that they've just conducted called Dapchi. Far more important is this issue that General Danjuma, one of the most respected and one of the most enlightened and courageous generals, army generals we've ever had in this country, and ministers we've ever had in this country, the questions he raised yesterday about ethnic cleansing, about the military colluding with these people, and so on and so forth in our country today. Nigerians are being killed. So many things are going on. IMF have denounced this government. Amnesty International has denounced this government. Everybody, President Obama has denounced this government.
I'd like to pause you for a moment, just for a moment, because we need to go on this break. It's important, but we'll come back to you after this break. Up next on the program, well, what Cambridge Analytica is in the fray for, in the hot water with ethical and potentially legal questions being raised. Was the Nigeria's 2015 election digitally manipulated, and to what effect? We'll find out more when we return.